Good morning. Welcome to Old Man Energy. I'm your host, Flint Anderson. And if you want to get a bunch out of today's episode, then I suggest that you follow the notes and stick with us because I've got a lot of stuff to go over and a lot of stuff that I really want to talk about today. One thing I want to jump into first, and this thing, I've talked about this before, but this is something, especially for those of you guys that are in sales or marketing or you're driving the engine of your own business. Remember this one simple thing is if you're going to try and sell something to somebody else, establish what problem you happen to be solving for them at that time. Recently, I get bombarded by DMs, instant messages, people trying to sell me things. It becomes overwhelming. And I know that we all do. If you put yourself out there in any way, people are going to try and sell stuff to you. That's fine. I don't mind it. A lot of it just goes into the background noise, but every once in a while something pops up, and not in a good way. If it does pop up in a good way, I end up doing business with people, but almost always the ones that pop up are the ones that are frustrating. Particular messages that were coming to me on LinkedIn over about the last month. And I've gotten pretty good here lately at telling if something is AI or not. And if it's an automated message, which I don't have any problem with an automated message. As a matter of fact, I like them in certain environments because it gets right to the point. It allows you to filter a massive audience and only engage with people that want what you have to offer. That's when it's used properly. But what this particular set of messages was, and I couldn't exactly tell if they were AI generated or if it was somebody manually doing the work and sending messages out, because they were just slightly different enough each time. If it was AI, it was really good. So I responded, "Hey, look, are you AI or what? You've messaged me a couple of times, then I can't tell. So what is your purpose? What is your point?" And I got several messages back over the course of the next week from this particular person talking about how they could solve all these problems with my online presence. The piece that was missing, and I came back fairly aggressively to them, was they were solving a problem that didn't exist for me. So all of that time, all of that effort that they put in was wasted. Now, if some of it was AI, then they were paying somebody to do it. But if they were doing it on their own, all of that time was wasted, whereas they could have solved this by one instance and just by asking a question. What are you trying to do? What is your point? So I came back rather aggressively at him and told him, I was like, look, maybe lead by asking what it is I'm trying to accomplish instead of assuming that you already know what it is that I'm doing and going from there. Very frustrating. They came back and said, well, okay, tailored their pitch, did not alter what they were offering, but tailored their pitch. So it sounded like they were trying to solve what problem I offered. Their product ultimately doesn't do anything for me at this point, but at least they listened and tried. But again, all they did was alter their output. They didn't alter their perspective. If they would have, they would have realized that their product doesn't solve my problem. And this is one thing that's insanely frustrating because it's an incredible waste of time. If you're going to sell something and you're going to be in a professional environment, you're going to push products, which we all do. Everybody's selling something at some point. If you're in business, you have to have a product that you're selling. Then instead of taking your solution and running around and trying to make everybody's problems fit into your solution, you can do two things. You can either take your solution and you can go find people's problems who fit your solution and sell it to them. Or over the course of that, you can start talking to people and finding out what their problems are and finding creative ways that your solution solves their problem. Don't ever assume that you know somebody's business better than them. They always know their business better than you. Even if they suck at business, they know what's going on. They know what their problems are. You do not. Well, now, once you've had a conversation with them, you may have some level of understanding of what they're doing and what they need and what their business is. But don't assume going into it cold that you know what's wrong and you can fix it. All you do is come across like a jackass and you're wasting their time. I know it wastes my time incredibly. I've used this at the gym as well. And I'm going to reiterate this story here today because it's relevant. And I want to drive this point home, especially for you sales reps out there, because you guys have to be professional. And in a world of automation and robots and AI, that human connection is going to become even more valuable than ever in history. Is a more unique time because nobody's doing that. Everybody's automating everything and they think robots are going to save the world. So let me give you another example. I work out at Commercial Gym. I work out at Crunch Fitness. If you follow me, you can see I post there all the time. Not every time I'm there, but most of the time. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that I'm there all the time. New trainer comes up to me, giving the guy props. He was approaching clients that weren't being trained. did not look like a guy that I typically train with. Okay, so he's young, he's ambitious, willing to entertain him a little bit. Plus, I don't want to crush somebody's dreams and come down on a sales rep that's excited, because that excitement will get you a long way. It'll get you through the ignorance of being new. And subsequently, he's not even there anymore, so I don't know where he's gone on to and what he's done. But he came up to me and said, "Hey, I've been watching you work out. I know you're here early in the morning when I am, and I've been training clients, but I've been seeing you work out." First thing I'm thinking is, man, okay, well, he approached me, which is not easy to do when somebody's got headphones in and they're in the middle of workout. Number two, he's been watching and observing. Let's hear what this dude has to say. I'm curious. And he goes, what's wrong is you could be even more jacked than you already are if you would just work out in a split. I program a full workout for you that will solve all of these problems. It'll fix what you're doing wrong. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said I was doing it wrong, and he was going to design a workout for me to fix it. The problem is I didn't set out to get into the gym to be a big guy. That's been it's been a benefit, but it's not why I'm there. And as a result, this guy, instead of asking some questions and trying to find out what my situation really was, he took that particular situation and turned it into something that actually turned me off. Now, I realized what was happening. I was in the middle of my workout and I was a little frustrated with that particular level, but fine. Okay. So I told him, I said, maybe instead of trying to solve my problem, maybe ask why I'm here. And I think I said it somewhere along the lines of, well, do you even know why I come in here? And he's like, well, yeah, you come in here to get fit and get big. And I'm like, no, I come in here because I've got rheumatoid arthritis, and this is one of the ways that I keep it under control to minimize the medication I have to take. And got a blank stare. He had no idea what I was talking about. So I was like, look, I have to move every joint every day, hit different parts of my body heavier every day. But in order to maintain my mobility, I have to move every day. And some days are great, and some days it's intensely painful. So it's less of an intense workout. No idea what I was talking about. It just shut him down. I didn't intend for that to shut him down. I was hoping he would listen. But since what I needed didn't fit his narrative that he had been taught, there was no flexibility. He shut down, never spoke to me again. Now he's not there anymore. Was that a waste of my time? Yeah. Did I take the opportunity to hopefully teach him something? Wasn't my place to teach him anything. Told him what my situation was, and he could have turned that into an opportunity. Now, would I have let him train me? Probably not. That's not the point. The point is he would have had a much better chance of training me if he had switched and listened to what I needed, listened to where I was coming from, what my perspective was, and gone from there. Subsequently, for you trainers out there, I believe there's an entire market out there for people that have chronic disease that need to work out and need to move every day and still accomplish their goals. That is a very underserved market. I'm not a trainer, but I think that that's a very underserved market in your particular field. So anybody that's doing that, man, post up in the comments below. I will be happy to share. It took me a long time to figure out what I needed to do. And I've shared that on different stories. So you can go back and look that up in different podcast episodes as far as my journey to health and wellness out of rheumatoid arthritis and even not being able to walk. So that being said, pay attention from a sales perspective to what your clients want and need and solve their problems. Neil Rackham writes a great book about this. It's called Spin Selling. And that book, I read it back when I was still selling office equipment. And I will tell you what, that book changed my life. I'll put a link to the comments. I know I've talked about it before, but just if you're reading anything right now, read books that make a difference and that you can implement. Otherwise, it's just entertainment. It's shelf help instead of self-help, meaning you pick it up, you feel like you're doing something, and this is going to transition into what I wanted to actually talk about today. But you feel like you're doing something, you're reading, you're trying to get these things accomplished, but if you don't implement anything, all you're doing is entertaining yourself. You might as well pick up a science fiction book or some pulp romance novel or whatever it is that you like to read for entertainment, because there is no difference in reading a business-based book and not implementing any of it than there is reading just a fiction book. Now, the beautiful thing is the opposite is true too. If you have access to my reading list, which everybody should, if you want it, just message me or comment below. There's some fiction books on there because I think through fiction, we can learn just as much as we can through nonfiction. The secret to that is in the fact that we can take actionable items away from things and implement them. I will reference pop culture in a lot of things. I pull a lot of inspiration and I use a lot of pop culture. One, I'm a pop culture junkie, but two, I use a lot of pop culture to make my points, to illustrate things because people tend to remember it. So instead of and the term shelf help is a lot nicer than one of the other terms that I've used, which I'm not going to here because I know there's kids that listen to this. pod. So moving forward, if you are not able, and this is going to kill you if you guys are one of those bibliophiles that when you start a book, you have to finish it. I'm one of those guys. I was also one of those shelf-help guys who I read for entertainment and pretended I was doing something. We're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. But if you're one of these folks that has to finish a book, I'm going to challenge you to open a book. And if the book is terrible, be willing to walk away from it. Nobody's going to judge you. Nobody's going to come down on you if you walk away from a book that's truly terrible. The other thing is maybe that book only has 1 or 2 chapters that are relevant to your situation at this time. And if that's the case, well, then read those 2 chapters, skim the others if you want to, and then go on and find something else you're going to be able to implement immediately that have really helped solidify my approach. And refers back to the beginning, was Spin Selling is one of them. I implemented that book immediately, and my income and my sales went up from there. I've read, or I'm in the middle of reading Influence by Robert Cialdini right now, and I've read it before, but I did not implement anything. Again, read it like it was entertainment. But making a conscious decision to take each of those chapters and find real world and real life opportunities to be able to implement that has drastically increased my effectiveness in the field. That leads me to another thing. In the same way that you can engage in shelf help all you want and never actually implement anything, the other pieces of this is you can do the same thing with networking. And networking is huge and it's on the rise right now. And I've built my businesses over the years out of networking. I always say it. I never set out to be a master networker. I was just an incredibly lazy cold caller. And it's true. I wanted to get as much as possible out of these networking events so I didn't have to cold call less. Because back when I had a corporate job and as I've built these different businesses over the years, one of the things I realized is if my calendar is full of real potential appointments or potential prospects and appointments, then it didn't matter where the leads came from. And if I could put 10% effort and fill my calendar just as much, then I had all that extra energy left over for either things I wanted to do or to be able to add a few extra appointments into my calendar. And networking seemed a great way to do that. Plus, it gave me access to people that I never would have had access to simply walking in the front door to the business. So, and there's a place for cold calling, there's a place for touching base with businesses. And I still love that technique, but it's not as effective as being in a group of people and using that. Now, I've written a book about this. Beyond the Handshake is specifically how I network with people. It's a quick read. You can grab it and read it right before you walk into a networking event, and it will alter the way you network. But if you're going to networking events and you're not coming out of there with 4 or 5 good qualified leads, or you're going to the networking events, the same networking events repeatedly over and over again, or the networking events with the same people over and over again, that's just entertainment. You're just somebody who likes going to meetings with people. I hate to tell you that, but if you're not driving new sales, new contacts from networking events, you're in the wrong rooms. Our Chamber of Commerce is notorious about this, and I love the Chamber of Commerce organizations. That's where I learned to network, and I've leveraged our local Chamber of Commerce over the years to build my businesses. I have a lot of connections from the Chamber, and I think it's an insanely powerful organization. But there's always a particular group of people inside every Chamber of Commerce that's at every single event. They're not getting the benefit from networking that they could be. They're there to show up and have their faces seen, and it's entertainment for them. This is what these people do for fun. Once you've run through that list of people, you know who they are. And if you're on that list of people, you need to reevaluate the time that you're spending in your rooms and on your networking because you're not making as much money as you could be. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. If you like going to networking events and hanging out with the same people and having conversations, again, this is more just from the books. This is more just shelf help. This is more you feel like you're doing something and you're not actually accomplishing anything at all. Man, you look busy and you look good in your pictures. This comes to the point that I wanted to make is you can't easily mistake motion for mastery, and you can spend a long time running in the wrong direction and call it progress when it's nothing more than just movement. Don't keep making a mistake because you spent a long time making it, because you got time invested in it. It ain't going to get any better. You need to stop if you're going the wrong direction, if you're doing the wrong thing. When it comes to networking events, when it comes to reading, these are 2 things that are very easy to change. You can switch it on, you can switch it off, you can put yourself in different rooms. You can just go to a different part of town and network. And if you're networking in a small town, well, then you need to get out of your small town and go to a different town. Maybe if you want to do in-person networking, get on Alignable and do some virtual networking events. Get in front of people, talk to people. It's a very unique time right now to be able to connect with people around the world. I was talking with one of my clients earlier this week about online presence and about establishing yourself as the authority. So there's a couple of different reasons. There's many different reasons for posting online, but one of them is to get leads, and one of them is to establish his authority. One of them is to document. There's just a bunch of different ways to do it. But what's happened is as he has positioned himself as the authority in his particular niche, then he started to get clients that he never would have any other way if it hadn't come from the internet. And he didn't have to work super hard for these clients other than putting himself out there and continuing to add and provide value moving forward. It kind of goes back to you become the authority, people start seeking you out. So you can move outside of your region geographically, and if you have a product that can be sold and can be serviced remotely, well, that's even better, because now the entire world becomes your stage or becomes your prospect instead of just your local market, your local venue. You can have businesses that do all of this. You can have businesses that do none of this. It doesn't matter. Just decide what time or what your business requires and spend time doing those things that your business requires. If your business is specifically local, understand that there's a certain size that it's going to get to if you don't grow outside of that local market, and that's it. Also understand that if something happens and your business is exclusively local and something happens inside of your locality, that you need to have a plan for what's going to happen when that business gets wiped out. It might not ever happen, but if you have a plan for it, then that's fine. We live in Florida. Obviously, hurricanes are an issue. If you have a business that's based in a specific city that gets hit by a hurricane, you need to have a plan for what's going to happen when you can't do business. And that's an ugly truth that a lot of us do not like to, we don't like to admit. It gets uncomfortable to look at that. And you know what? If you can't do anything about it right now, just have a plan for it. Set some money aside, figure something out. I talk about this in my mastermind about ways to secure your cash flow once you've established it. And there's several different ways to do that. But one thing I don't want to touch base on social media again is entrepreneurship, for some reason, has become a dopamine chase. It is the ultimate buzzword. And you've got a lot of these young guys that are riding around in Lambos and riding around in all these fancy cars and showing these big houses and all of this stuff. But what happens is there's really nothing there behind it. They don't have anything to build it up. They don't have anything to show for it. When you start digging into what they do is they have you pay them to teach you how to take better pictures of yourself by fancy cars so you can get people to pay you to teach you how to do it. There's not a lot there in a lot of these people that you're comparing yourself to. Try not to get disappointed. Try not to go into fangirl mode with some of these bigger folks. And this is one thing that happens when you start to live and exist in the self-help community and use it as entertainment. As you start to look at these people as celebrities, you start to look up to them. You start to think, oh, if I just had what they had the opportunity that they have, then I'd be okay and we'd be fine. And then I'd be able to live this glamorous, fancy lifestyle too. It's not always supported by anything. Sometimes it's just pictures and videos and what they choose to put out there. And sometimes it's completely false. Or sometimes the people building it are people that don't have a lot of integrity. And maybe they do have a business on the backside, but they've taken advantage of people. Assume that people will let you down. And if they don't, you know what? You got nothing wrong with that. You got a good friendship moving forward. This is why it's important to establish your own team and your own circle of friends and your own circle of influence, because doing that, and people call this building your own stage, which is true. And you don't know where these people are going to come from. But by establishing and building your own circle of influence in your own stage, then you know these people, you've vetted these people, and these people are people that you trust and you can move forward with. The people that you follow online are not always who they say they are. And oftentimes they're not, unfortunately. Does that mean you can't learn from them? Absolutely not. You can learn a lot from them. A lot of these people have experience, and some of them maintain themselves with integrity and move forward and do what they need to do. You'll hear a lot of the influencers in this space talking about this, talking about integrity, talking about consistency, talking about a lot of the same stuff that I talk about. Just be careful with whoever you're following. Make sure that their advice is worth listening to and that they're actually giving you something to implement and not just trying to sell you something. We're all trying to make a living. Understand that. I have products out there. I have an insane amount of value given away for free, but everything that I produce or create has a couple of different, it has to meet particular tests in the background. One, it has to provide value. There has to be something that you can take away from it that you can implement immediately with no learning curve that will make your life or your business better, period. If it can't do that, I don't put it out there. Now, I may post pictures on my story of what Des and I are doing or what we're doing for fun and things like that. I'm not talking about documenting lifestyle. But what I'm talking about is when you're putting things of value out there, make sure that you have some standards that you measure them by. Don't put it up there if you weren't being paid to do it. That's one easy way to do it. If somebody's paying you for something, you tend to do something. You tend to do things a little differently. Now, if it's something that I'm charging money for, then you better be able to get enough value out of what I'm charging money for that far exceeds the amount that I charged you for it. I know my mastermind is specifically goal based, and now it's even automated, so you can run through it at your own time and your own pace. But even still, I didn't fully automate that course. There's still 3 sessions one-on-one with me, or eventually with some of the people that I've trained in how that I teach and how that goes, to specifically drill down into what your goals are, what you want, and set up your daily activities while you go through the mastermind, so that by the time you finish the 12-week course, you have established more value in your business than that course caught you. And everything that I post up and everything that I put out there has to meet these litmus tests, or I won't put it out there. And if I do put it out there and I don't feel it met these litmus tests, then I'm going to take it down. Or I'm going to go in and address it and say, okay, this needs to be tweaked, or we need to do something differently here. Because I want to be known as the authority in this space and known as somebody that always provides value no matter what. People that don't have access to those higher level masterminds, still, some of you have the ability to implement and the ability to grow and the ability to be good, successful entrepreneurs. You just have no idea how. I want somebody to be able to find my content and learn from it and move forward going from there. So how do we do that? What do we do? Well, one, you got to quit mistaking your motion for progress. You need to be able to sit down, look at what you're doing, and understand where you're going. And what does this mean? Well, this means that you got to figure out what you want. And we talk about dreams, we talk about goals. Well, you need to write those down. It's like, well, okay. The number of people that have dreams and goals but don't have them written down is astounding. Same thing with a number of people that have a household budget but don't operate on it. That's astounding to me as well. It's ridiculous. Write down, just take a few minutes and write down what your ideal day looks like. Write down what your business looks like. Write down what freedom looks like to you. Decide what's important to you and write down what it looks like. Because here's the thing. How the hell are you going to know when you've arrived if you don't know where you're going? It'd be like going on a trip, but not having any particular destination in mind. How are you going to know when you get there? It's like the old adage of the problem with doing nothing is, how do you know when you're done? Write down what you want, but you're going to feel good about that. And you're going to want to share it, and it's going to be exciting. Don't share that with everybody. Share it with a spouse. Share it with a mentor. Share it with somebody who's guiding you. Don't share it with everybody, because then your brain starts taking credit for shit that you haven't done yet. That's not okay. But again, in this dopamine-driven world, man, it feels good. Look at me. I'm becoming accomplished. All of this stuff that I've read and all these guys that I've heard talking, I'm doing it. We haven't actually done anything yet. All you've done is define what success looks like. And the challenge with that is that when you define what success looks like, you also define what failure looks like, but that's a different episode. Once you've done that, decide what you're going to do every day to get it. Put a date to it. This can be arbitrary. You don't know what you're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody knows how to accomplish your dreams or goals, because nobody's ever gone after that particular set of dreams and goals that are in your brain. Some people have accomplished the same things or similar things, but that was them. This is not you. Nobody's ever done what you're attempting to do, so there's no way to be wrong. There's a million ways to be right. There's no way to be wrong. So you just arbitrarily pick a date. Does it make sense? I don't know. Do what feels good. Write down whatever feels good. I set my goals and then I put dates on them, and they're almost always wrong. It's ridiculous. One of my fitness goals has been, hopefully this helps you guys relate, because this is arbitrary and it even seems silly when I say it, but I'm still freaking proud of it. So I'm going to share it with you. My goal for October was, with tricep exercises in the gym, and I use a cable machine for triceps, is I wanted to do the stack. Yes, that was specific. That was my goal. I want to do the stack. Well, what does that mean? It means I want to work out with the stack. Not necessarily work out. I just want to lift the stack and not be struggling to do it once. It's like, okay, so I get there. I've never worked out with more than half on any machine. I don't know why. I don't have a reason for that. Just, okay, well, this is how much I lift. This is what it is. So I was like, okay, well, it's October, October 1st. My goal is to do the stack in October. Okay, no problem. Well, how you gonna hit a goal? Well, you gotta see where you're at. Okay, well, I need to know how much work I've got. Well, where are we gonna start? I'm just gonna put the pin at the bottom and see what happens. Let's see if I can pick it up once. Okay, I did it 3 times. Well, okay. I can either get excited, hey, I hit my goal, which I was pretty excited that I did the stack 3 times, or 2, then the crushing realization of maybe I've been shortchanging myself this entire time and I could have done this the whole time, but I didn't write it down. I didn't think I could. So I was kind of sticking with where I was at. My workouts changed a little bit after that. That's just one example of setting goals and then putting timelines on it. Most of the goals that you set are going to be too low if you actually put effort into accomplishing them every day. That's okay. Because once you start to get there, you just set another one. You just set another one. Just set another one. And you'll learn how to do that. That's not important right now. The important thing is you write down what you want. And for the first time in your life, or maybe the 1,000th time in your life that you said you're going to do it, but for the first time in your life, you actually commit to 30 days of specifically going after it every day, using your standards. And Ed Milet talks about this in his book, The Rule of One More. Your goals are what you want. Standards are what you do every day, come hell or high water. And once you set a goal, figure out what daily tasks you need to do to get there on the timeline that you set. This is very simple, but it's very difficult to implement long term. Set your standards, write them down. Put them where you can see them. Put them on your car. Put them on your mirror. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I've got my goals written on my mirror right now. I need to update the standards in there. When I wrote my goals on the mirror, I didn't know what the standards were going to be to get there because they were so large. And the thing with mine is that right now is they were large, but I've done them before. So I'm operating from a position of, okay, I know where they're at. I know how to get there. I just need to do it faster than I've ever done it before. Because the first time I didn't get there accidentally. I got there through hard work, but I got there by overshooting my goals because my standards were working the way they needed to be. And in order to accomplish that in the timeline that I've set, I've got to have some different standards. And I've spent some time experimenting with that and setting different standards. And I have to keep increasing them every day because they weren't enough or I was able to accomplish them like doing the stack. Doesn't matter. Pick your standards, write them down. If they're too low, if they're getting you there faster or don't feel like you're doing enough, well, then increase them. Just do something that you will consistently commit to every day. And this should be something with your life, with your body, with your business, with your mind. There's 4 areas of your life that you need to focus on daily. And you know what? Maybe you're heavy focused on business right now. The others are important. So you just set those in the background so you can keep them going. But this is where your main focus is. It doesn't matter what it is. You decide this. Nobody's ever done this before for you. You decide this, you write down what you're going to do every day. And these are non-negotiables. If you have 10 things on your list or 5 things on your list, I don't encourage you to have 10 things on your list. You'll never do them all. 5 things is about max for what you're going to do. So pick the 5 most important things that you need to do to move yourself towards your goal every day. And those become your standards. And if it's 11 o'clock at night and you're tired and you got to get up at 4 in the morning and 3 of them are undone, guess what? You ain't going to bed until those 3 are finished, period. This is keeping your word to yourself. And this is discipline. And you've heard me in the past, if you are any kind of a follower, you've heard me talking about discipline is applied force of will over time. That's my definition of discipline. I'm going to say it again. Discipline is applied force of will over time. You have to implement these. And discipline is not something that you have to have a learning curve to do. It's just simply a matter of saying, I'm going to do X every day, and then doing X every day. Not allowing yourself the ability to shirk that. That's discipline. That's it. There's no learning curve for discipline. Discipline is simply consistent action applied over time. That's it. That is all it is. So what is this? To sum up to this point, stop looking at the highlight reels and comparing yourself to other people. Nobody's ever done what you wanted. Nobody's ever accomplished your goals for you. That's up to you. Decide what your life looks like. And here's a truth bomb that a lot of you are not going to like. Your life is whatever you want it to be. And it doesn't matter what somebody else's life looks like. Your life could be as simple as living out in the woods and having breakfast with your wife every day. Or it could be as simple as making sure that you're at your kids' ball games until they're grown up and you're there all the time and coaching their goal. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have a flashy lifestyle. That does not have to be your goal. There are no requirements. Whatever makes you happy is what you should pursue. Because the whole point of going after these things that they want or that we want in life is to improve our lives and make it better and subsequently improve the lives of those people around us. That's it. If you're chasing something that you don't really like, you're not going to do it consistently. If you're doing things daily that you don't like, and I'm going to talk about in a minute, I'm going to talk about enjoying the journey. But if you're doing things daily that you don't like without a purpose, you're not going to continue to do them. Touch a stove that's hot and we pull our hand away. Might do it twice. Some of us really stubborn might do it 3 times, but eventually you learn, okay, if I touch that stove, it's going to get burned and I'm going to get burned and it hurts. So I'm not going to do that anymore. So we tend to not do things that cause us pain. unless we know that touching that hot stove I'm not encouraging anybody to go touch a hot stove, so take that for what it's worth. But unless we know that touching that hot stove repeatedly is going to build up our tolerance, and then we're going to be able to do more with it, well, then we can consciously override that initial reaction and continue to do things that hurt until there's an outcome that we want. Touching a hot stove is a bad example for that, but it's emotional and it'll get your point across. So you guys come at me in the comments if you want for using that as an example, but it doesn't matter. You can use weightlifting as something you want. You can use running. You can use whatever. Doing things that are difficult changes the way you look at them. So don't compare yourself. Don't compare your goals to anybody else's. Your goals are yours. Keep them to yourself. Share them with people who have an emotional or financial investment in the outcome. So share them with your spouse if they're on board with you chasing your goals and your dreams. Guys, be prepared. Your wife may not like to hear it again. She may not even believe you, but all it takes is consistent action. She'll come around. Or if you pay a coach, if you pay somebody to lead you, if you're paying a mentor, well, now they have a financial interest in seeing that you are as successful as possible. These things are critical and these things are important. You want to make damn sure that the people that you share your goals with are going to push you, not just be excited for you. That I can't restate that any better than that. So here's another thing, guys, and this goes back to, you don't need any more shelf help. You don't need another morning routine. You don't need another video. You don't need another book. You don't need anything else. You need to start. You need to start and you need to move and you need to quit taking excuses from yourself. And when you make excuses, you need to own it. And when people call you out, those around you, for making excuses, you need to quit getting pissed off at them and get pissed off at yourself. Because if you weren't making excuses and you were hammering home, and Des is the absolute best at this, but if you were not making excuses, you were hammering home everything that you told yourself you were going to do, then they wouldn't have the opportunity to tell you that you were making excuses. Oh, that sounds like bullshit. And you know what? Once you're called out on it, man, nothing's worse than feeling foolish in front of somebody you love and care about. Nothing. Well, maybe getting hit by a truck. Never been hit by a truck. I don't know. But to me, in my mind, they're kind of comparable because, God, I hate it when my loved ones look down on me. And they're not really looking down on me. I know they have my best interest at heart, but this is what goes on in my head. So as a result, I try harder. I work harder. I will not accept excuses for myself. And when I failed, instead of making up reasons why, they're like, well, screwed the pooch today. Didn't happen the way I wanted it to. Tomorrow's going to be better. Period. Go on about my business. And then I review it in the evening, go over and figure out how to have a better day the next day. But stop doing things that don't get you where you want to go. Just stop. Stop chasing the illusion of success and understand that this is a 5 to 10 year process. Sometimes it's 2 to 3 years. Sometimes it might happen faster than that. I don't know. It has. But what's going to happen is as you go through this process, you'll start to love the process. You will start to love those little accomplishments. You will start to love those micro successes, and you'll start to stack those wins over and over again. And all of a sudden, when you look back, you realize how far you've come. But you don't know how far you've come unless you have something to measure against. And so many of us measure our success, and this goes back to how you're going to track what you're doing. We measure our success against what we want, not where we started. So you take a tape measure and you throw it out against your goals. Well, nobody's ever run after those goals before because they're yours. Nobody knows for sure how long it's going to take to get there. And it seems like you're a million miles away. Whereas if you take that same tape measure and turn around and look behind you to where you started, because that's a hard start, that's a hard place, that's a specific time and existence in reality, you can tell how far you've come, what you've done, what you've accomplished. And that should allow you motivation to be able to move forward. If you don't feel like you've moved as far forward as you need to, or as you would have liked to, then you need to work harder. But you can't measure against a ghost. You have to measure against reality. You can chase a ghost, you can chase a dream, but that's just an idea until you make it a reality. Measure against reality, run after your dreams. Remember that. That more than anything else will help you change your life. I want to touch base on one more thing too. We confuse speed with success. We think just because we're moving fast, it means we're being successful. That is not true. You can be running fast in the wrong direction. Realize you're running the wrong direction. Stop and go backwards. Not go backwards. Stop running in the wrong direction. Start running in the right direction. And just like if you are driving a car, you don't typically have to turn around unless you're going in the exact opposite direction, and go straight back. You usually can adjust your path and go at an angle. So you didn't waste all of that time. You just wasted some of it. But man, if you're spending time on things that don't matter to you, stop it and start applying that effort to somewhere else, because you only have so many hours in the day to apply. And even if you take some extra, you want your time and effort to be as effective as humanly possible. So while you're implementing your standards, make sure they're getting you where you want to go. I want to hit discipline again. Discipline is not a magic emotion. Discipline is a manifestation of acting upon your standards daily, period. That's it. I don't have discipline like you. I just wish I could get up at 4 a.m. and go and work out and then run my day and this and that. I just can't do that. You know what? As long as you lie to yourself about that, you'll never be able to do that. I don't like getting up at 4 a.m. But in order to get everything done that I want to get done throughout the course of the day, I don't have a choice. It's not a motivation thing. Discipline is just a choice. Discipline is looking at whatever you have to do and choosing to do the hard thing, even though it's fucking hard. That's it. Somebody that tells me, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, I stop talking to them because they're not worth my time. And that sounds harsh. And I used to have a real problem with that. But you know what? If you're not willing to invest time and effort into yourself to do what you want to do, why in the hell should I? Why in the hell should anybody else? It would be like tying you up and trying to drag you across the finish line of a race. It doesn't make any sense. You have to start choosing discipline. You have to start choosing to do what you need to do, even when it's hard. And you know what? Yeah, there's times when I've gone to bed at 12:30, 1 o'clock and gotten back up at 4. A lot easier now that I quit drinking. I didn't want to get up at 4. I wanted to sleep more than 2 or 3 hours. But you know what? It wasn't in the cards that day because I still had shit that I needed to get done. So take that time, do the hard thing, pick what you don't want to do and do that first. That way it's out of the way. But learn to enjoy the struggle. Life is, you're going to suffer one way or the other. You're going to suffer for your choices. You're going to suffer for other people's choices. Things are going to impact you that you have no control over. The only thing that you can do is act upon the things that you control. Well, you control when you go to sleep. You control when you get up. You control the physical actions that you perform every day. 100%. You don't need permission for them. You don't need to look outside of yourself for them. You control those 100%. And you need to control those 100%. You need to take action on it. And the harder they are, the better. Good. Make it hard and do it anyway. This is your engine. Doing those actions is your engine. Your standards are your GPS. Your standards show you how to stay on track towards your goal. Your goal is your destination. If we're looking at this as a trip, that's the way it is. Your discipline moves you, your standards keep you on track, and your goal and your dream allows you to know where you're going. You know what? Here's another harsh, brutal reality. You might not ever get there. You may not make it. You got to do it anyway. One of the brutal parts of entrepreneurship and one of the hardest to swallow is that you're going to do a bunch of shit that nobody's ever done, living on a dream that only you can see and only you know exists. And there's going to be times where even you feel like you're insane, like you're crazy, like nothing is working. You're going to be at the grocery store. You're not going to have any money. You're going to have to buy crap just to get by. You're going to have an incredible amount of things that you need to get done and no way to accomplish them. And you got to figure out how to do it. And all of that is going to make you feel crazy. And other people are going to be looking at you and going, what are you doing, man? You're working all the time. Nothing is showing for it. You're nuts. You're going to hear you're crazy from other people. You're going to miss parties. You're going to miss birthday parties. You're going to have to do things that people don't understand. You're going to have to do it over and over and over again, past the point where even you feel like you're insane. And then you're going to have to keep going. And guess what? It might not work anyway, but that's all right. Ultimately, it doesn't matter because failure only exists if you stop trying. You might not get where you want to go. You might not hit that particular goal, but you're going to be a hell of a lot further forward than if you'd never tried. And you know what? Sometimes you're going to get to your goal, and this is another harsh reality. Sometimes you're going to get to your goal and you're going to realize it's not something you really want. Oh, that sucks. That's terrible. I've done that before. That is not fun. But what do? You just sit down and feel sorry for yourself, or you look around and go, all right, let's go on. Grover talks about this in his book. He talks about winners, true cleaners don't celebrate their success because they always want more. So when you get there, you always got to have another goal, because once you realize your dreams and you've made them happen, well, now you've fallen in love with the journey, and now you have all of these wonderful habits so you can really accomplish anything you want in your life. But you have to push through all the bullshit. You have to push through all the insanity. You have to understand that you're going to feel like you're crazy, like you're exhausted. You're going to be so tired you can't see straight. You're going to have to do insane stuff. I've done so much crazy stuff over the years and still continue to take a short nap in the truck because I didn't get enough sleep the night before. Take 15 minutes and need to go for another 2 hours. I do that all the time. Go after things that don't make any sense to anybody else. Chase a vision that nobody can see but you while you're wanting to give up on the inside. And it's just the next time. Sometimes it's the next decision. Sometimes it's deciding to go on for the next minute, for the next 5 minutes, just the next step. I'm just going to accomplish the next task. These are the harsh realities that we don't want to admit to ourselves and that we don't understand until we've gone through them. So you have to do this over and over and over again with no reward, often negative reward, negative feedback, people not understanding what you're doing. And then maybe you get what you want. Being an entrepreneur is not for the weak. Chasing your goals and dreams, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, is not for the weak. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. So I want to continue this. I only got through about half of what I said, so we're going to make this a part 1. We're going to make next week a part 2. If you are still with me, make sure you like and subscribe and follow me on all social medias, because not only am I documenting my journey, I am attempting to give away as much absolute value as possible so that you guys can be successful and live a better life for you and your family. Until next week, I love y'all. Thank you for being here. Peace.